on this episode of AV Week, the future of online AV education, how we can use AV in the wild to promote the industry, and taking a look at DEI and environmental concerns in AV. All that and more, next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 568, recorded Friday, July 8th, 2022. Them's the breaks.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Biam.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, first and foremost, Brandy Alvarado Miranda from BAM Marketing and PR. Welcome, madam.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, thank you. Also with us is Mr. Brock McGinnis from Up Canada Way, which apparently they're having internet issues in parts of Canada. So, welcome, sir.
Great to be here, Tim, as always.
And thank you for doing whatever magic you did to turn on the internet in your part of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, a young lady that I've not had on this program, but I have interviewed her before, Jennifer Goodyear. Jennifer is from RT Sales, currently down around Atlanta Way. Welcome, ma'am.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
Absolutely, absolutely. We talked to Jennifer last time about the initiative that her and our good friend Erica Carroll was doing as far as the Rosie Riveter campaign for the AVWeek Women's Council around Infocom. So that's where you may have seen or heard her. So welcome to you to AV Week.
Fantastic initiative.
Absolutely, it was a really good initiative you guys did and raised over $30,000.
Yeah, right? Our goal was $30,000, and we're now well over $31,000. So we did it.
And so. Really, so you meet that. Can people still give?
We are actually going to start a new round. So you can always still give because it'll go towards more STEM kits. But we are going to be starting a new round with a new goal, and that will all be announced soon. And maybe you'll be one of the first to know, Tim.
Okay, so first story comes to us from our friends over at AV Network. The Vertiv, which is a DEI and safety company, they're looking at. They're not a DEI safety company. They released a DEI and social governance document. What it looks at, though, is it looks at how Vertiv is able to navigate both the economic impact as well as the environmental impact from what they do. In addition to that, they're also looking at the employee health and safety and diversity, equity and inclusion, which is what the DEI stands for. I'm still stuck on Bradford Ben's rule that I have to spell out every acronym. So DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. From the CEO, Rob Johnson, quote unquote, "We all know how critical connectivity is to our daily lives and the global economy. The world's appetite for data continues to rise, and our solutions keep data systems on and connected. At the same time, though, we recognize the current and potential impacts of climate change." Brandy, I'm going to start with you on this. When it comes to what I'll call green initiatives or DEI initiatives, and I understand that there are two different lines here, and so you take whichever one you want. Where in the AV community do we care about the green part? And I asked that question because a very talented woman about 10 years ago started a podcast called Green AV over on Rave Publications, and she didn't get very much traction. She did for about a year, but that was it, right? But now companies like or organizations like AVWeek have made tremendous pushes when it comes to DEI, made tremendous pushes when it comes to inclusion. So is it that we care more about DEI and not so much about the environmental impact, or what does this mean?
Well, I'll be on the fence on that one a little bit because I think they're both equally important, right? Obviously, the Women's Council initiatives and DEI kind of go hand in hand. Diversity is an issue that we've been seeing for many, many years. Have we moved the needle? Probably a bit, yeah, but we still have work to do in that respect. In terms of green initiatives, I mean, I think we all have to do our part. We all have to think about this and consider it for our future and for the future of our kids, right? And for future generations of that. And I think, AVWeek has done a really, really great job, not only with starting councils, the Diversity Council, Women's Council, and other councils to kind of work on DEI. But also, they've just started a big sustainability initiative within the organization to connect people to start working on green initiatives and sustainability issues and things like that. I think there's a lot of manufacturers out there. I mean, just recently we were at Epson, for instance, in their new headquarters, which is based in Los Alamitos, California, kind of LA proper, if you will. And I really enjoyed that for a number of reasons, but one of the things that I noticed almost immediately is their lobby not only tells their company story, their beginnings, and where they're based out of and all those things, and showcases and highlights their products, but on one wall in specific in their new headquarters, it had a very detailed description of how they're going to get to, I guess it's a sustainability, statement, really, when it comes down to it, how they're going to get to, zero carbon, and how they're getting to, this area and by what year, and these goals and where they're at. And I thought, to myself, that's really a great thing to put in your, in your building, but front and center, right? Because people should be concerned about that type of initiative and do our part to get there. But I mean, back to your question, why is it important? Having a DEI policy in your company shows that you're not just looking for folks that are a fit, right, for your company. We hear that, oh, she was a great fit, that's why we hired her, right? Or he was a great company fit, he fit with the company culture. Somebody recently said, instead of thinking about it as a cultural fit for your company, we should think of it as a cultural add. And I really, really liked that phraseology. We should think about, hiring people that are adding to our value, adding to our company culture, not just being a fit, quote unquote. So
to add to that really quickly, and Brock, I'll pick on you here in a second. As somebody who does lead a team now, a bigger team than I did a couple of years ago, 100% agree with that, because I want people on my team that don't think like me, look like me, act like me. That is one of those things that you actively seek out other points of view. Brock's kind of question is, whether it's the DEI or it's the green initiatives, where in the industry is this important, or where should it be important?
DEI is a no-brainer, and it's it's certainly, as a Canadian, I can say it's been a greater part of our DNA for a long time. We're very multicultural. The office where I'm working is very multicultural, multi-faith, to Brandy's point, I mean, if you're hiring for fit, you're actually creating a homogenous environment, and that's not good for any of us. And I think that's what plagued the AV industry for so long. And somebody on my side of the microphone may have been saying that for more than a decade in response to the calls to hire for fit. ESG initiatives, I have a real challenge with as small companies and as individuals, because so much of the climate change impact is macro. It's not micro. I think I read the article that you provided to us, and I think a lot of it is really just, trying to pat yourself on the back and say, we're trying hard. When companies stop flying people all over the country for meetings, I'll look at that, and I certainly know individuals who've decided that they're not going to fly. They're going to more localize rather than globalize. But because flying is one of the biggest optional or variable contributors to climate change in North America, for sure. But I'm really challenged. I know that we recycle stuff at the office. We only use Energy Star compliant equipment, but this has been for years and years. We made the transition to RoHS stuff to materials that don't off gas. I was involved with LEED buildings from the very beginning of that, and it's great, and it is a step in the right direction, but it's such a tiny step compared to, say, making your electricity with coal.
I no, I mean, and that's one of the things that at least us in the States, and we can get into a conversation about nuclear power versus solar energy versus wind, at least down here. It's a whole different conversation. Jennifer, last question. You'll have the last one on this. What does it look like for the industry to start taking DEI and other issues more seriously?
It's only going to be better for the future for all of us. Like Brandy said, we have our children and the future to look forward to, and we need to leave the world better for them. And then as far as diversity and inclusion goes, this industry is just going to turn itself into one giant echo chamber if we don't start including people that think differently than us. And you'll just be going around in one giant circle instead of moving forward if we don't have people that have a new perspective. And I think that Brock is absolutely right that it's not a micro, it's a macro issue. And you can see that Microsoft actually had the top ESG score in 2021. So that kind of shows, hey, we're this massive company and we're doing everything we can. Yeah, it's kind of a pat on the back, but it's also a good example for all the other companies out there to go, if they can do it at the level they are, we should be doing it as well.
All right, our next story comes to us from our friends over at AV Magazine. And the title here got me, guys, to be honest about it. This is why I grabbed it. For the first time ever, the Hollywood sign was projection mapped. Now, it took me a second. Now, I understand I'm a big dumb American, and I'm a big dumb American from the middle of America, right? I am flyover country. So growing up, I assumed that the Hollywood sign was lit up all the time, right? It's like it's in movies or in my head. And Brandy's sitting here shaking her head because she knows, because she lives in that, in the area. And a couple of years ago, my wife and I went out and just kind of spent a long weekend in the SoCal, LA area. And I called up a buddy of mine because we were, Brandy, the observatory.
It's the Griffith Observatory.
Yeah, thank you. The Griffith Observatory. We're driving up there and I'm like, the Hollywood sign is somewhere. And it's at night. And I'm like, I can't see it. It's not lit up. So I call a buddy of mine who lives in Long Beach. And I said, when did they stop? He said, when did they start, dummy? They never did light it up. Mm-hmm. But this time they projection mapped it. It was for the BET Awards. They used footage from some previous BET Awards. Barco was the projectors that they used. Gorgeous footage of this. Brock, I'll start with you on this, and not for nothing, but Brock has been involved in discos at one point in his career. But also some getting AV kind of out into the real world, and really, how does stuff like this help evangelize what we do, whether that's recruiting, right? So we go to, I don't know, the USC Film School, right, and say you could be part of, being a part of history here, projection mapping on the Hollywood sign for the first time, or when you're talking to your clients, right? And Brock has also been a part of a number of rather famous ice projections in the NHL. So how do you use something like this that they can see in the real world to kind of sell what we do?
It is so nice to be able to be involved in projects that have wow associated with them. You can do 1,000 Zoom rooms in little meeting rooms, and people are just like, oh, it's a TV and it's a camera, and I have one of those on my desk. I've been involved with outdoor spectacle, outdoor architectural lighting, projection mapping. For first projection mapping has got to be 15 or 16 years ago now, and people go, wow, and it promotes. It opens people up to the power of what's possible. the stuff that we've done, we did projection mapping on the Canadian Parliament buildings. And to take my kid and sit on the lawn and watch a story of Canada's history told as it marches across, and this is huge, right? This is a huge thing. There's a wow to that. In fact, anything we can do that our kids can look at and say, yep, we do AV. And I think some of the building lighting that we've done, tower lighting over time, it's spectacle events make a difference. And I understand, I wasn't privileged to be at ISE this year, but I understand the Sagrada Familia now looks amazing at night. That projection, it was lit when I was there, but the projection mapping wasn't on it. And that ISE has made a commitment to bring other outdoor spectacle events in Barcelona to future fairs. Yes, that's what captures people's imagination and makes it larger than life. It doesn't matter what the brands are. A lot of projection mapping is actually very ho-hum. It was the early 90s. We took a projector outside, actually a couple of projectors, because they weren't that powerful then, and played video games on the side of a building as a guerrilla marketing thing for a client. And crowds gathered and children cheered. And it was like Mario Kart or something, pretty basic. So yeah, go for it.
Really quickly, just for clarification, the Sagrada Familia was not projection mapped this year. It was another Gaudi building.
That would be the Latin Quarter.
So the basilica was not. I think it is lit up, but it's not. There was no projection map, but it is lit up. You could see it, kind of from where the area where the ISE the Fiora was.
You can't see the Sagrada from where the.
Jennifer, same question. How do you take stuff like this and talk to your clients, or even talk to, as Brock said, talk to your kids and say, this is what we do. This is why this industry is so exciting.
Well, yeah, I think that something our industry could do better is industry awareness as far as recruiting people to our industry. And having a wow factor with something like that, it will get kids and younger generations. And I think even artists now will look at AV as a new medium and they'll be interested. And I think they should be glorified as artists because it's art. It's just a different medium. And for example, the Rosie Riveters Initiative, we're creating a pamphlet that these girls will see that describe different jobs in AV. And we're using a lot of the wow jobs. You can do virtual production. We're doing things like the projection mapping. We're showing them the stuff that is the wow factor stuff so that they want to be in our industry and see how fun it is.
I was going to say, I think, Avixa did a really interesting video a couple years back, and it didn't get very much play. I think it's got like 500 views the last time I looked at it on YouTube. And if you look it up, it's Avixa Sizzle. And really what it does is it takes all these different areas of AV, whether it be sound, video, projection mapping, live events, all this kind of stuff. And it puts it into this really cool sizzle video that could definitely be used as a pathway to get people excited about our industry and different facets of our industry. I think, that's one way, definitely. We have to do more outreach to get, a younger generation excited about AV. Because let's face it, we all fell into it. I know I did. I know Brock probably did. I know Jennifer definitely did. Your family's been in it for, a long time. Brock, I know I've heard your story too. I mean, we all fell into this industry. We didn't have an AV 101. We didn't go to college for what we do. Maybe some parts of it particularly, but, we all fell into it. From the projection mapping side, I'm a huge nerd. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, any day, every day, the more I can see this kind of really wow, spectacular kind of thing. And, I'm for it. I've got a couple of clients that specialize in this. And one of them just, hit a Guinness Book of World Records for, projection mapping. So that is extremely exciting. Can we see it in our everyday stuff? Absolutely. I would love to go to a restaurant and have, the menu projected on my table, or, what my choices are, visually in front of me, projected, and let me pick that. I don't know, it's just silly stuff, but we could absolutely see this in play in different aspects of our everyday.
So Brandy, I have to ask, which client and what Guinness record did they get?
If I tell you, I gotta kill you. No, I'm just joking.
That's a fine answer. There are days I may take you up on that. Who knows?
No, just look at my clients. They're Lumen and Forge. They do amazing work, and they're based in Las Vegas, and they've just done some really incredible stuff. I mean, one of the things that I think is really kind of fun too. I mean, this is just goofy, but but it's definitely something that people might consider. But they recently did a wedding where the whole wedding was in a dome that was projected. Think of the cost savings. You don't have to do decor; it's projected.
Well, there's a relatively new venue in Las Vegas called Area 15 that is actually a blank canvas facility that was designed to be you create whatever kind of environment you want in that space, and it goes back to we were doing banquet halls that changed colors, all of the walls, spotlights on all of the tables. Back in the 80s, when color mixing lights first became available, and we never made any money on selling the fixtures. But oh my gosh, did we sell a lot of lamps? It was good business.
Yeah, that reminds me of the first moving light, the Very Light system, which again that just means I'm old. All right, last story here. From our website, folks over at ClearOne have unveiled ClearOne University, and what makes this kind of unique for them is not only are they doing instructor-led live webinars, but as well, in addition to that, they're also doing self-paced ones as well. So what's interesting about this, though, is they're really kind of diving into, just like a lot of manufacturers, diving into not just their products, which certainly they've got a couple that are 100% focused on their specific categories and their specific solutions, but they're also looking at overarching AV conferencing and pro audio conferencing and giving out certain certifications for that. Jennifer, we'll start with you on this. What does this look like for you? And understand Jennifer's clients are dealers. So when you look at online education in today's world, right? 2 years ago, COVID happened, and we all went to our homes, and we've been spent the last 2 years on some sort of video chat somewhere. Where does that leave online education when it comes to AV? Are we burnt? Or do you get that sense from your dealers, or is it still viable, and is it still something that folks should invest in?
I think that just as everyone has different learning styles, some people are visual learners, some people have to be in person. For me personally, I love the online training, and I have a lot of dealers that love it too, especially the ones that are on demand. So if they're able to just pull this up at their own time and learn about the products, they're not just learning more, they're making more money. The more you know about these products, the more you can get creative with your jobs because of this education, more money you make. So I don't think that, I've heard people not wanting to have another Zoom meeting with me because if they see Zoom one more time, they're throwing their computer out the window. But there are people that also, I send them an education link and they say thank you. So there's two sides to it for sure.
Jennifer, I want you to say what you just said about the more education they have, the more money they make, for the people that are not paying attention in the back of the room.
Okay, the more education you have, the more money you make.
Why?
So education means more money. If you know the products inside and out, you can talk about them, you can sell them. Sometimes I've listened in, I'm not going to name names, but I've listened in on dealers trying to sell a product, and they didn't even bring up the best features of the product, the features that make the product what it is. So I think if you have that education and you're able to spec it, if you don't know enough about the product, you don't even know it can be spec'd in a certain job. So I think that if you know enough about the product, you can sell that product for that specific job.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandy, I'm asking the same kind of question, but I also want to do a little bit curveball on you because Brandy's, is an incredible marketer. I have learned over the years that education can also be certainly a useful marketing tool, especially if you do what Jennifer says, which is learn more about it. That way you can talk more about it. How can we, encourage, whether that's virtual, on demand, or kind of, the instructor led in real time, but more webinar stuff. How can we leverage that to still be useful and still be, impactful, but also, get our marketing message across?
Yeah. A number of my clients struggle with this. Should we do a webinar? Should we have an in-person event? I think the answer to that is it depends, right? What kind of product are we talking about? If it's something that you could, visually see in a virtual, environment and understand, the nuances of that product and grasp it, great. But if it's something in person and frankly, display technology is kind of an in-person type of thing. You kind of have to see it. It doesn't look the same when you're in a virtual setting. Quite frankly, sometimes it doesn't behoove you to do it that way. So I guess, the answer is it depends. But from a marketing standpoint, yeah, you absolutely have to find a way to convey your products and their, rich feature benefits. I think, a lot, to Jennifer's credit, sometimes, you pitch something and you're not giving it the full breadth of what it can do and how it can be applied in certain, solutions and applications. I always think, with my clients, you have to drill down to a couple of things, right? What's the feature benefit and who's the target audience and what's the why? Why do they need this product and how does it fit into that particular environment, whether it be, sector or application driven. But yeah, we do sometimes we don't do a great job of marketing these products because we're not really drilling down to the why, and I think that's a big thing. Personally, all my clients were on Zoom. I rarely, my clients are spread out all over the globe. I rarely have an in-person meeting, quite honestly. And so for me, Zoom's been a great, or any sort of, WebEx, I don't want to pick on Zoom, but any of these, virtual meeting rooms are a great benefit and still, in my business at least, extremely viable. I hold meetings all day, every day, pretty much on them. So, are they sick of seeing me? Probably. And if I but that's okay. We're still getting lots of work done. That's the good news. But there's also something to be said about being in person too. Being back at InfoComm, minus the COVID, thank you very much, was amazing seeing everybody in person. Personally, did I come down with it? Absolutely, 100%. Came home with a little extra, a little extra friend that lingered for a while. But but being back in person, would have I traded it for seeing everybody back in person? Absolutely not. It was spectacular getting to see all of our AV tweeps back in the conference setting again.
All right. Mr. McGinnis, you've been around where the rep Jennifer would come by your company and drop off reams of paper for information, or you'd have to go somewhere to take a class. To now you can do everything online. Talk for a second about the kind of the future of online or education in AV in general, and kind of where you see it.
In person is nice. And it has been really nice, particularly how strictly Canada was shut down, to be able to be back circulating. And I, have lunches with clients, and we're trying to have a lunch and learn every week at the office, so that a rep can come in, work on their personal relationship, and not just with one or two people, but with the whole team, so that a number can get in touch with them. But in terms of serious learning, online is it. No disrespect to reps. You've got probably 20 brands. You've got 20,000 products. You can't be expected to know everything about everything. that some quirky engineer is going to ask you, or some obsessed project manager. So when we want deep technical details, we want to be online for sure, absolutely. And it's efficient, it's on demand. It used to cost us a fortune to fly people halfway across a country or a continent to get certified on a particular product, and now it's free. So no, this is the best of all worlds. Jennifer, you made an outstanding point about the more you know, the better you'll do financially. It's so critical for integrators as well, because my engineering team doesn't just need to know your product; they need to know your 4 competitors, because they need to be able to make a decision between one or the other and what's best for my clients. And then I have to steer them around that decision to the one that's actually going to make the most money for the company or have the least amount of service or the greatest reliability. So I love the online learning. It's fantastic.
All right, very good. That'll be a good way to stop. Thank you all so much. Brandy Alvarado Miranda from BAM Marketing and PR. How do people connect with you?
You can find me on Twitter at AVBrandy or at bammarketingpr.com.
All right, very good. Mr. McGinnis, thank you, sir, from up in Canada Way. How do people connect with you or nationwide?
I'm Brock at nationwideav.com, but I'm mostly Brock McGinnis, at Brock McGinnis on Twitter. I'm active there in a number of different AV communities, and they are my peeps, and they're part of my education process, because that's where I get an awful lot of information, not just on what a product does, but what its best features and benefits.
Jennifer from RT Sales, thank you so much. It was awesome to have you. How do people connect with you or RT Sales?
So I'm the most active on LinkedIn, and that's Jennifer Goodyear. There's no A in that. I'm sadly not a tire mogul. And then you can find our website is rtsales.com.
All right, very good. And Mitchell, our incredible producer, will also put a link to the episode we did with Jennifer and Erica Carroll and the folks over at Rosie Riveters. He did about a month or so ago. You can check out more information about that. For me, for tomorrow, do not follow me on the Twitters. At this point, the Blues season is over. Football hasn't started yet, so I am stuck watching baseball. A lot of it. I'm just going to put it out there. All right. But go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program, a host of others. Matt Scott stops by the studios once a week, and he talks about residential. Dawn Mead stops by and talks about marketing. Steve Greenblatt does his thing with control and automation, all sorts of stuff. Plus, we have a brand new one coming down the pipeline from one of our editors, Mr. Taylor Moore. He is a brand new member of the AV community, and he's going to be interviewing other brand new members of the AV community. So I am very excited about that. So look out for that. I mentioned baseball, and I'm not a big fan of baseball. I like going to stadiums. The sport itself, whatever. And yes, I live in St. Louis, and it's the second most World Series, whatever. But we're having a Fuse event, and Fuse is AVNation's user group. Online community. You can communicate and kvetch and share stories, but we're doing local events as well. 100% stole this idea from Brandy and the Women's Avixa Council. So first one is in Chicago. If you come hang out with me in Chicago, there's a chance you might go to a Cubs Cards game the very next day with me. So just saying, if that's your jam, you can come hang out with me. I'll buy you a hot dog and a beer at Wrigley Field. And you get to experience.
I'm going to see the Cubs tomorrow night.
Well, there you go. There you go.
The Dodgers-Cubs game, though. Sorry.
But still, that's not a bad game, though. I mean, for those
that's a good game, actually.
Yeah. I've never been to Wrigley, never have, and so it'll be kind of an interesting experience. So yeah, there you go. But that's at Fuse. You can find out more at the website. So go by the website, avnation.tv.
Sorry, you've never been to Wrigley?
I've never been to Wrigley. I've never watched the Bears play at Soldier Field either. I've seen them play in London at Tottenham Stadium, which was an experience in itself, and I've seen them play here in St. Louis because once upon a time St. Louis had a football team. So, yeah. Anyhow, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Go by the website. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.